Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell, and I'm going to be going over a video that Cash Jordan just released about theft in New York and how even the cheaper stores, like the dollar stores, which are no longer dollar stores, are going to be closing.
The next few years as it battles macroeconomic concerns and theft.
Battling theft, that happens here in America's shoplifting capital more than anywhere else in the country. But theft is especially bad on discount stores like this one, which is why they're vanishing from New York City.
The growing problem with shoplifting. You've probably seen cases of merchandise, things like toothpaste and laundry detergent locked up behind glass at your favorite store. The problem getting so bad, New York State is setting up a task force to tackle it.
Dollar Tree announcing they're going to close more than 10% of all Family Dollar locations.
You're an assistant manager there?
It's terrible. I had guys swipe a whole shelf because he needed it for his family.
They have no shame about it. They know there's no consequence, or they have the perception that there's no consequence.
Discount retail giant says it is now raising its base price point to $1.50 and capping items at $7.
The hashtag cost of living has 2.8 billion views on TikTok. Most are talking about what they're giving up in order to live right now.
I feel like it's like now you have to minimize and say, you know what, I need this, I don't need this.
So nationwide,
When you have a lawless society, in a society that is a TikTok generation that's not willing to read, not willing to, strengthen God, country, and family, not willing to actually, get truly educated, you're going to have problems. And this is what happens. It's not the only thing that happens in society, but it's one of the major things that happens when things start to devolve.
Dollar Tree closing 1,000 of its stores, citing losses partly due to theft. And what nobody's talking about is how especially devastating this new shoplifting epidemic is turning out to be. In New York, you've already got 1 out of every 3 people spending half their income on rent alone, forcing more people than ever to rely on the very stores that may soon close forever. Which is why you'd think city leaders would be more concerned with stopping shoplifting, but they aren't for some reason. Maybe they don't think it's a big deal. Yet crime here is so bad, you've got discount brands like TJ Maxx and Target that have recently shut locations. Other discount stores have also shuttered, and on top of that, an entire mall was recently shut down and all the stores inside closed because of crime. And if you find a store that's open, you'll see walls of glass locking up virtually everything, because the uncomfortable truth about New York City is that we'd rather lock up our products than our criminals. And now that discount stores are in trouble, New Yorkers are starting to ask big questions. Like, how will people survive in America's most expensive city if all the affordable stores are gone? And why is it so hard for the city to actually do something that puts shoplifting to an end? But in order to understand why this is happening, you've got to realize that New York City has made it very tough for these stores to exist for a long time, and the ones that are here have been surviving, but just barely for years, which is why it's so surprising that nobody saw this coming.
These closures will have an immediate impact on low-income communities because that's where many of these dollar stores are located. But now Dollar Tree, which is the parent company of Family Dollar, says about 1,000 of those stores have to go in order to keep the company profitable and viable.
So why are they closing the stores? Well, they have to keep the company afloat. But that's a huge problem because people rely on these stores. And if these stores shut down, one of the last affordable lifelines available for people that live around here is going to disappear. And people are going to get stuck paying more money for the same stuff. But as you're about to see, for many of these stores, closing might be the only option, as they've been struggling for years. Yet city leaders have been perfectly content to allow these places to languish under the costs of high rent and high crime for far too long.
The dollar store family chain stores have struggled in recent years with keeping stores fully stocked and clean, with customers complaining the stores were oftentimes poorly managed.
So if a store looks like a disaster, there's a reason for it. And even though a lot of these complaints affect stores all over the country, here it's even worse. Because the goal here is to sell low-cost items in a high-cost city where rents for stores this big are insane. And if rents are high, the store has to do with less employees because they've got to pay rent, which is why it's not easy to keep the shelves stocked. You're an assistant manager there?
So what happens is we get 4 managers to a store.
Yep.
And then they get most of the hours. And then the rest of the hours goes to the employee, which isn't enough. So we're talking about maybe 14 hours a week sometimes.
God. Oh, so there's just not enough people
There's not
working in
enough people to
stores.
work there.
Plus, in New York, minimum wage is $16 an hour. When you combine that with high crime, which is why all the detergent has tags on it, you've got a recipe for disaster. On top of that, things are so bad, New York now has a $4.4 billion shoplifting black market where stolen items are brought to warehouses and then sold on online marketplaces like Facebook. And things are so out of control, you now have professional shoplifters. This is all they do.
The lower end consumer, while employed, has been dealing with high inflation and also reduced government benefits. And that has been one of the areas that both discount retailers have been dealing with, along with, on the cost side, quite a bit of shrink, which is basically loss of product from stealing and the like at the stores.
And think about how much worse this is for discount stores in New York City. High inflation means even the cheapest stuff in the store costs more to make. And the problem with high theft is that every time something gets stolen, there's less products on the shelf for the store to sell and make money. And here's another problem. This is probably the biggest step they can take as far as store security goes, because anything more than this that can't be taken off at the register, like let's say, for example, you had walls of glass blocking everything, that would require an in-store attendant to come over and unlock, and staffing is already a problem here. And between the high costs associated with operating these, they're already in a tough position. And once criminals start targeting stores like this, they've almost got no choice but to call it quits. But surprisingly, since the economy's bad for everybody, it might be giving dollar stores a way out of this mess. But the problem is, if the stores end up taking it, they may still end up disappearing, just in a different way.
Dollar Tree is seeing a higher end demographic coming to their store. $125,000 demographic is now shopping at Dollar Tree more so than they were before.
You know, there's no other.
That is crazy, and it's showing on the erosion of the power of the dollar, the erosion of this purchasing power of the consumer. And you know, we're hearing in the news that the economy is great in terms of economic indicators. You know, so, you know, there seems to be a reality issue versus what is published in the labor of statistics. I personally think that what's being published is massaged to benefit the Biden administration, only to have some sort of, you know, revision of, you know, a couple quarters later. But this is, people are having problems out there in terms of affordability of things.
Where a six-figure income goes less far than it does here, and that's the chance that stores like this have to survive, but it's going to eliminate them as a place for its normal customer to find affordable stuff. Because think about it, if discount stores are seeing more customers with higher household incomes, perhaps what they can do is raise their prices, make more money every time they sell something. But if they do that, the very people who relied on the store for a long time are going to be in a bind, because it's like the store doesn't exist anymore for them. And either way, the affordable store with the low prices is now gone forever. And that's probably what a lot of places are going to try to do before they call it quits and completely close the store. Many may disappear by simply pricing out their old customer base and no longer being the same type of discount store they once were. And even if many of these companies figure out how to survive by raising their prices, that still doesn't do anything about the crime problem. And if that continues, stores are just going to be targeted, especially if less people can afford to shop here, which means they could end up having to close no matter what. But even if the dollar stores do manage to stay in business, critics are calling them somewhat of a poor tax on your everyday consumer who doesn't know that the stores have deceptive ways of getting them to spend more money. And what that could mean is they're not helping the communities that rely on them as much as people might think they are. Here we are in Midtown on 40th Street, where we'll find a bunch of discount stores. But there are things going on inside these places that might allow them to make every penny. What am I saying? I like Jack's. I don't want to talk bad about Jack's, but the stuff inside isn't what we think. And I was kind of shocked to learn some of what we're about to look at, especially since I used to live around here and would shop at Jack's other location, which closed all the time. But what's also interesting about these discount chains is, although they sell super cheap items, some of the same items you'll see at a Dollar Tree, they don't have the same types of problems we just saw at Dollar Tree. Maybe it's the multiple security guards I saw in each store. But the critics' contention here is that
Let me do a commercial here. Please make sure you subscribe to all my channels. I have 3 channels on YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Also, please help support my news coverage by being a paid Patreon member on my channel. The link is in the description of this video. That will help to make sure that my news coverage on current events is free to everybody on all 6 channels. In addition, you can also donate on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of this video. On the homepage, you can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. That way, you're helping support my news coverage, and it will help to reach a larger audience. I appreciate your support. In addition, I also have a store that sells different types of products, some educational products, some ebooks, and also supplements. So please purchase some of those products if you would like to help support my work and help to support your health and your knowledge.
Stores aren't as helpful to people looking to save money as they appear.
Here's a Colgate toothpaste we bought at CVS compared to the same one from Dollar Tree. These smaller products keep prices low, but also mean you'll need to replace them more often, which means more visits and even more spending.
So as an avid dollar store shopper, I would definitely say that this is one of the best stores you could possibly go to. I mean, look at it. It doesn't look like it's got any problems, but the super micro-sized items like this bleach, I mean, look, it says 33% more, but this is like 200% smaller than the size of Clorox I'm normally used to getting, and it's $2. But the thing I never realized was that the actual package that you're buying is somewhat deceptive. I mean, look, we flip this tape over, and that's, I think I've seen thicker rolls of tape for more money elsewhere. It's got the same diameter, but the interior is definitely.
So what we have seen over the years with, let's say, at the fast food industry, they're charging more for less fries, for example. Or they are, if you buy a bag of potato chips at the store, it may be the same bag, but the number of chips in the bag is less and it's more air. And you've seen this over the years getting worse. Well, now it's almost all products. So it's a marketing scheme. It's bean counters trying to maximize profitability for these corporations. And it's going to get to the point where if they keep on doing it, the consumer will actually push back. Now, what it does is, in the long run, most likely open up opportunities for companies to emerge that are actually providing quality products, a decent quantity within their unit size, and it'll be affordable. But it has to work itself out of the system. So you let capitalism really work, right? What will happen is the ones that are greedy, right, that aren't in sync with the buying behavior of the population, these corporations will die or shrink, and there will be other opportunities to emerge to be able to reach this new buying behavior consumer. Quality product at a reasonable price, but it has to work itself out. And, that may be years it took to work out, if not decades to work out. Part of the problems is that we have a change in the supply chain. For the last 25 years, there's been this integration between the United States and China. And we still have a strong integration with China for consumer products that were cheap. But the problem is that the costs of actually making things in China have risen. In addition, there's also a decoupling of the United States with China in terms of its supply chain. And that was exacerbated during the crisis in 2020. So there's a refiguring that's taking place on top of inflation, right? Which is leading to higher prices. And because consumers are purchasing less because of the higher prices, there's gimmicks that are being orchestrated on the product to convince you to buy it, even though you're getting less of a product and you're thinking that you're saving money. You're really not, in terms of the amount of product that you have compared to the price that you're paying. So, this is going to be a problem going forward. Eventually people will stop buying the potato chips, buying the fries, and buying the cheapo tape. And then a new company will come out, new series of companies will come out and provide quality product. But it's going to take a while for that to happen. There has to be kind of a demand. There needs to be demand destruction and supply destruction. And then all of a sudden a rebirth will take place. But it's going to take a while for this to happen. And I think that what Cash Jordan is saying, that the ones that are going to have the first hit on this is going to be the poor. The ones that literally rely on these discount stores for their livelihood. They're getting priced out of the market. And because inflation is pernicious, we're seeing higher income people needing to rely more often on the dollar stores or these discount outlets. All right. Now, eventually, you're going to start seeing the erosion of the middle class. The poor has already been eroded. They're not middle class, they're poor, right? But the middle class is moving closer to the poor, and the upper middle class is moving to the middle class, the middle class instead of the middle upper. So there's a middle lower, there's a middle, and the middle higher for the middle class. So the everyone's shifting downward. All right. So we're going to see this decoupling that's happening with supply and supply of labor and capital, especially with artificial intelligence coming online and automation and all this. So there is a destruction of the middle class, and we're seeing this now. The middle class is eroding, and everything is getting shifted down to lower end, cheaper, less quantity, right? More marketing gimmicks, all this stuff, right? So it's gonna be problematic. Now, unfortunately, I think people are also going to be cutting back on important things in their life, like health care. And when they whittle it down to their total essentials of livelihood, there's going to be aging. People's health is going to decline more because they're in a stressful situation and they're not really taking care of themselves. They're in a chronic stress. This is why I keep on saying, bring down that inflammation, bring down the stress, slow down the aging process. All right. And simplify your life. I think people have been living too high on the hog for too long, especially in the United States. And now it's time. We saw this in automotive years ago in the 90s. People had 2 homes, they had a cottage, they had a boat, they had a jet ski, they had the 4 or 5 weeks of vacation. And over time, especially during the holidays, everyone would do basically the same thing in Michigan, and the roadways would be packed for the 4 or 5, for the 3-day or 4-day weekend, right? And everyone was going up north. Well, those days are ending. People can't afford the 2 homes or the cottage or the boat or the jet ski or all that. So that was starting to die off in about 2000, 2001, what I started seeing in Michigan. All right. The high income, very educated engineer type, there was this change in behavior. All right. And now we're seeing it in non-engineering fields, non-automotive engineering fields. So, keep that in mind. And it didn't change. It didn't revert. So what was happening in the early 2000s didn't revert back to the good old days of the 80s and the 90s in automotive in terms of buying behavior. It got worse. People just didn't do these things anymore, or they did it at much less frequency.
Out there, the same thing was the case over there at Family Dollar. The super thin rolls of tape might be the same with the food too. I don't know of this brand of kettle chips, but in the past I never realized the small sizes of everything because there's no way to do a comparison. In store, it's hard to tell if this is a full-size bottle of Elmer's glue or if it's a smaller size designed specifically for a discount store because they don't have the full-size version here. And the reason that's sneaky is because when I run out of small trash bags in this tiny little box that's like the size of my hand, I've got to come back and buy more trash bags. Just like I've got to come back and buy more bleach when I run out of bleach. Again, I love Jax. If I still lived here, I'd probably come back. But look at the tape. You can see that it's like a super thin roll of tape in there, even though there's two of them. You're going to run out of tape faster here than you would if you bought a full-size item, maybe at CVS. The only problem is the items at CVS cost a lot more. But it's sneaky because it means that each time you come in the store, you're buying a whole bunch of things that appear to be very inexpensive. And while you're doing that, you're building up buying momentum. Everything you put in the cart looks like a great deal. So what do? You fill it up with as many things as you can, thus buying more than you may have had you gone to a store that sold full-price, full-size items. This toothpaste, definitely not full-size, but they have full-size toothpaste. $3.99, I would probably come here and get this. But other items like these electronics for cell phones, I'm not too sure. I can't imagine the $4 headphones sound as incredible as the packaging looks, even though they're lab tested.
Plus, it's ultimately cheaper to purchase household supplies. Oh, something you wouldn't really find at any dollar stores. A 6-pack of toilet paper at Dollar General.
Let me transition to a commercial from my store. I have very high quality products, and I try to provide products that have dual purpose. All right. Yes, over time, prices have gone up over the 4 years because of ingredients, the cost of the ingredients. But I've been trying to keep it down. So for the ones that are listening to this video, use the discount, all caps, discount 5, and that will be $5 off to help, to minimize the burden when you go to the store to purchase. But please go to my store, the-studio-rakefit.com, and get the products that I offer. I have very, very high quality products. All right. For example, I have Health Max 14 and Health Max 35 and Silver Solution. They're all at different ppms. Silver Solution is at 30 parts per million. This is at 14 parts per million, and then Max 35 is 35 parts per million. But you take a teaspoon of this a day. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon of it a day. If you're doing this every day and you need to take it to work instead of taking this whole bottle, which is heavy, right? Get the applicators that are on my store. That they're not that expensive, and you get a nasal spray, you get a dropper, and you get a spritzer bottle. All right, you just fill this up with the structural nano silver liquid, and you can put it in your bag, take it to work, whatever. It's a great way to just maintain neutralizing pathogens. That's the whole reason why you're taking this. You want to neutralize pathogens and boost up your immune system. So take a teaspoon of this a day, and if you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. Use the applicators when you're away from your house and be able to neutralize surfaces, because you can take this and spray, and you can spray it in the back of your throat. You can spray it on your hands. You can spray it on a surface and wipe it down. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this. So go to the store, get the applicator, and get the structural nano silver, either Max 14, Max 35, or the Silver Solution. In addition, I have another part of the protocol, and that is to bring down inflammation. You do that through 2 ways. Turmeric is an antioxidant, and it'll bring down inflammation. So you take this every day, and you take ashwagandha root, which will bring down blood glucose levels and reduce that inflammatory response of having high glucose levels in your blood. Take these together, and it'll be part of that second pillar of the protocol to boosting up your immune system and slowing down the aging process. The last part of the protocol is C60. I have it in 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, and an 8 ounce configuration. So that way, based on what you can afford, you can purchase at these different price points. If you get the 2 ounce, take a full dropper of this every day. If you take the 4 ounce or the 8 ounce, take a teaspoon of it every day. All right. What that will do is that the C60 is a molecule of 60 carbons. All right. And that molecule will soak up free radicals. So it will reduce the stress that's in the cell, allow the cell to heal. And what will happen is that the mitochondria in the cell will be healthier. And that will boost up your ATP. And that means that you're going to have more energy. So if you're working out and you want to recover quicker, take this before your workout. If you want to just get healthy and you're not really into working out or whatever, take this on an empty stomach. It's the best absorption when you take it on an empty stomach. Either a full dropper of this or a teaspoon of it a day. And that will soak up those free radicals. And you're going to start seeing a slowing down of the aging process and a boosting of your immune system and this higher ATP. Your immune system needs a lot of ATP. Not only that, your neurons need a lot of ATP and has a lot of mitochondria. So if you improve your mitochondrial health for your neuron by taking C60 and bringing down those free radicals, you're going to have better cognition. You're going to have better memory. You're going to have better mental acuity. On top of having more energy and being able to move around, and by having more energy, you'll have more muscle mass, and you'll just be more active. You'll just have more vitality. So go to my store and get the 2 ounce, the 4 ounce, or the 8 ounce configuration. If you have an ailment, all right, what you can do is take a tablespoon of it a day, all right, and what you'll notice is that especially like things that are overactive with your body in terms of, let's say, an autoimmune issue, you can calm that down by reducing the free radicals that are happening in those tissues during that immune response, that too much of an immune response. So, the whole idea here is that if you have an ailment, try a tablespoon of this a day, and you'll probably see some benefits, some mitigation of your problem. For just maintenance, for most people, take a teaspoon of it or a full dropper of this if you have the 2 ounce. You can get it in coconut or in avocado. It's a very strong antioxidant, and by soaking up those free radicals, you're going to improve your mitochondrial health, you're going to improve your tissue health. That means that the tissues are going to do things that it's supposed to do. By improving the tissues that are in your endocrine system will get better. You'll get better mental acuity because you're improving your mitochondrial health and the neurons. So there's lots of benefits by taking C60 on a regular basis, especially when you take it with ashwagandha and turmeric to bring down that inflammation and to neutralize pathogens by taking the structural nanosilver products that I have. When you do that, you're going to radically boost up your immune system and slow down that aging process. You'll get healthier. Now, yes, it is expensive, but it works. It works. Now, it's like investing in your body. If you don't invest in your body, you're going to pay for it later. So, are you going to invest a little bit each month or, every quarter or whatever to help improve your body? Or are you going to pay a lot more later by lack of vitality and higher medical bills because you have ailments that could have been mitigated if you were taking care of your body younger? And there's no silver bullet on this. The whole idea here is it's proper supplementation, proper diet, proper exercise, proper balancing. Talk to people, challenge your mind, read, write, stay away from too much electronics. People are getting stupid because of social media. So take charge of your body and you'll get healthier. This is a stressing, broadcast of what Cash Jordan's saying. But that doesn't mean that you'll have to fall victim. All right? You need to take care of your body because in 20 or 30 years, you may not be able to afford the problems that may arise because of not taking care of your body now.
Costs $3, which is 50 cents. Whereas if you order a 24-pack on Amazon for $5.48, comes out to 23 cents.
Okay, so the prices in this video are old, but the comparison still exists. Just look at the tiny toilet paper over there at Family Dollar. And the ones here appear to be about the same size. Tiny little rolls. $2.49. And again, here, none of the paper products are brand name or full size, which means there's no way to do a full size apples to apples comparison while you're here. But the reason this is called a tax on the poor is because these tiny little items, you're going to run out of this after 1 or 2 loads of laundry. And even the bigger one here, you're going to run out maybe 4 or 5 loads of laundry. And it costs more money to buy these smaller things. You save when you buy in bulk. And what that means is that by trying to save money at a store like this, you actually end up spending more money in the long run, defeating the entire purpose of shopping here in the first place.
At first, a $1 pack of AA batteries look like bargain. The dollar store batteries, however, are more likely to leak. Because they are made from carbon and zinc, they don't last as long as name brand alkaline batteries from.
So I never knew that alkaline was a selling point, and I've definitely purchased these low quality batteries before without knowing it. On the packaging, it says for low power devices. I guess I didn't realize that that meant it wasn't going to last very long if I put it in a regular device. But in defense of stores like Lot Less and Jack's, we're in Lot Less right now, a lot of these items come from the exact same factories and are made in the exact same places as name brand stuff. Although as somebody with a 5-year-old living at home, I can definitely say all bubble mix is not created equal. And the cleaning supplies may not be as effective if you don't get a well-known brand. It might be more watery, which is something I've definitely noticed with the dish soap that looks too good to be true. This is a lot of dish soap for $8. Get a workout with this thing. And the non-name brand Band-Aids, these definitely don't stay on as long, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, all of this stuff works. It serves its intended purpose. This thing will mount my phone with a suction cup to a level surface. This wall outlet extender will let me plug more stuff in. And if you're having a party, I mean, are you going to go wrong with 100 plates for $9? And what this means is, despite their imperfections, if discount stores either start shutting down or they change around their pricing so that they are no longer dollar or discount stores, New Yorkers will be worse off, because just about everything else in the city is bankrupting people, and city leaders don't seem interested in addressing those issues either for some reason.
To this true cost of living report by United Way of New York City, costs have increased 131%, while the latest findings now show 50% of working-age New Yorkers are struggling to cover costs.
So 50% of working-age New Yorkers unable to cover their expenses without some sort of government assistance. That's tough. That's approximately 3 million people, a staggering figure. And the financial reality for many is that this is just a tough city that takes basically everything from you. And even though discount stores aren't perfect, the city definitely needs more of them, not less. But with an out-of-control crime epidemic that's already shuttering some businesses and a get-out-of-jail-free card, it can steal less than $1,000 worth of stuff. You either need a store in the perfect part of town like this, or you've got to sell stuff that's so expensive that when you make sales, you're staying in business. But critics say the real issue that nobody's talking about is that it pays to be a criminal in New York. I mean, hey, we've got a $4.4 billion shoplifting black market. Those are full-time jobs. Plus, we've got a no-consequences environment. People arrested for shoplifting, these are not people who are removed from the streets, even if they're guilty. And some people say that the city's soft-on-crime laws and soft-on-crime attitude might be contributing to poverty, not erasing it, which was the hope of a lot of these decriminalization efforts. And the evidence for this is everywhere. Just look at how it's hurting small businesses. They don't know how to deal with this. And if big national retailers are having a problem with it, a mom and pop shop.
I personally, because I've lived through, I've lived through the Detroit eras of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the rebirth, and then a slight decline. And I went to undergrad school, and my first master's was down in Detroit at Wayne State University. So, I've seen that whole arc, all right? And I'll tell you, the difference between Detroit's renaissance started back up around 2000. All right. It was really bad in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. All right. It was just starting to have a rebirth, especially in the Hockey Town area, and the waterfront area. Between the suburbs, between, let's say, the outside of that Hockey Town downtown area, in between that and the suburbs, it was still pretty bad. All right. So if you go down Greenfield or Woodward, you know, and you get past the Hockey Town and you go towards, let's say, the suburbs, it can get pretty bad. Then the suburbs were great. All right. And that's where the middle class or the upper middle class would live, depending on what area you were in, even, the Oakland County or Wayne County or whatever. So, but there was a rebirth that was taking place in 2000. The rebirth for New York took place during Giuliani's years, but it's starting to fall back to a pre-Giuliani era. And if this doesn't stop, more stores are going to be closing and more people will be leaving. The tax base will start to diminish. The cost of living will increase. The food insecurity will start to increase in New York, and it will literally be the 1970s all over again. But New York has a chance to get this back on the right track here, instead of going, towards absolute dystopia for New York. If we had the right politicians and the right justice system to slow down and prevent these crimes and prosecute these crimes. But the moment there's a tipping point, though. If you go too far with this and business owners leave and people that are higher income leave, then you're talking about a lost decade or two or more in New York, right? You'll always have that super affluent, but the super affluent won't care. They never cared. The upper middle class, it will be not so easy to live in this unsafe environment, and many people will move out. And so you're going to see this destruction that happens within New York. It's not there yet, but it's close. It's close. If we have another mayor that can't get the job done, if we have more district attorneys that are being soft on crime, then the camel's back is broken, and we're going to have at least 2 decades of this kind of thing getting worse in New York. Before we go back to Cash Jordan, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin D3. This is a gene expression cofactor. It also helps to absorb calcium. I've said in many videos and how it can be used to help osteoarthritis. So, and in addition, if you have infected cells from a pathogen, you need to go through apoptosis, and you need D3 to help with that apoptosis. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin D3 as part of a regular supplementation in your protocol. I take 10,000 units of this. Each soft gel is 5,000 units. So I take it in the morning and I take it in the evening. I also drink milk. All right. So, some people don't drink milk. Some people take calcium supplements, which is fine. I have always been a milk drinker all my life, and I have to have my milk. And if I don't have my milk, I get cranky. So that was a joke. So please, make sure that you're taking calcium, you're taking D3. If you can consume milk, please do. I think that That's a great source of calcium. That's how I helped with my osteoarthritis from doing all those triathlons back in my 20s and 30s. And I took higher doses of D3. I did light resistance training, and I was drinking milk, 2%. And over time, the osteoarthritis went away. When you do this type of thing, you may actually increase the pain in the first 2 months. But then what happens is it starts to abate because there's a remodeling. That's why you have to do light resistance training on the problematic joint. And when you do that, it'll start to remodel and the osteoarthritis starts to go away. All right. So that's a little trick that I learned from Dr. Group. And depending on your BMI and depending on the severity of the osteoarthritis, depends on how long you need to do this for and what's the actual dosage of the D3. For me, based on my BMI and my severity of the osteoarthritis that I had from the triathlons, I was doing about 25,000 individual units. I wouldn't take it all at once. I would space it out throughout the day. And I was also drinking the milk, and I was doing the light resistance training on the problematic joints. And that took place for about 7 to 9 months. And it's a long haul, but it's worth it. It's worth it because you won't have the osteoarthritis. It'll go away, right? But you have to stick with it. That first 2 months, it actually is more painful. Probably because of the light resistance training that you're putting on, but there's a remodeling that's taking place, not just with the cartilage and with the bone, but also with the nerves. And so there's a little bit of additional pain, but it helped me. All right. So that's what I did. And it just depends on your pain severity and your BMI and some other things on what the correct dosage is, because you can take too much of D3. You'd have to take a lot of it over a decent amount of time to have it where there's some toxicity to it. For me, toxicity didn't start until about 7 months into taking 25,000 units of D3 while I was reducing this osteoarthritis. My baseline is 10,000. So once you start feeling a little bit, usually the toxicity it shows is like brain fog. So the moment you start feeling like there's a little bit of brain fog, then you go back to a much lower dosage. And then you're pretty much done with the protocol, right? So usually what happens is that during that first 2 months, you'll have this large pain, all right, increased pain, but you keep on doing the light resistance training and the higher doses of D3. And then all of a sudden the pain starts to get less and less and less. And for me, I took it to about 7 to 9 months, depending on which joint it was. And that there was no pain, but there it gets to a point where you have to back off on the D3 amount. All right. For most people, it's around 7 to 9 months. All right, at these higher doses, but it depends on your BMI and the amount that you're taking. Some of these professional athletes that had really bad osteoarthritis, they were taking, numbers that were in the 50,000 or higher. But they had much larger BMIs, and much more muscle mass. They were professional athletes, so that's a little different case compared to someone that is the average person. So around 20,000, 25,000 is probably close to what you would want to go for if you were doing an osteoarthritis protocol to try to reduce the osteoarthritis. For me, it eliminated it. But you got to be careful. You can't do it, beyond a 7 or 9 month. After 9 months, stop. But some people, they may have to stop at about 7 months or 6 months. All right. But it works. So, D3 can do a lot of things. Help with apoptosis of infected cells. So that means it gets rid of the cell. That's a good thing. D3 helps to absorb calcium. And, on top of it, it is a gene expression factor, cofactor, that helps to have the proper gene expression in the cells. So you have the proper metabolism. So hopefully that little diatribe about D3 will help you get an idea on how powerful it is. But with anything that's powerful, you have to be wise in how you use it. Clarity factor helps to reduce brain fog, all right? And also helps get those dendrites firing more often, and you'll have better mental acuity. So take this every day. Some people take it twice a day. I take it twice a day, but most people take it once a day in the morning. So please go to my store, get the clarity factor. It's way better than anything that Alex Jones offers. So please go to my store and help support my work and add that to your protocol. Toothpaste. I sell the best toothpaste that you can get. All right. It is very high quality, structural nano silver. It neutralizes pathogens. It whitens the teeth, freshens the breath, reduces the gum irritation, reduces gingivitis, and with really good oral hygiene, you're reducing you can reduce cardiovascular disease. Part of cardiovascular disease is poor oral hygiene. So if, with that inflammation, some of that bacteria and plaque can get into the bloodstream and cause cardiovascular issues and valvular issues. Well, with really good oral hygiene that neutralizes pathogens, right, and reduces that gum inflammation, such as this product, you're going to reduce your chances of cardiovascular and valvular disease. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. This has no fluoride in it. It's structural nano silver that neutralizes pathogens. So go to my store. If you haven't used this already, you'll notice after you use it that first time, you're going to say, oh my God, this is the best toothpaste that I've ever used. All right. So get, several tubes of this. It is a great product on my store, and it'll help support my work, and it'll help to support your oral hygiene.
Be the end for them. It's really a no-win situation for a lot of privately run stores. If they hire more people, then their costs just go up. And if they hire less people to try and save money, more people are just going to steal. One clothing store where they interviewed the owners, they said that the people stealing from it used to hide the fact that they were shoplifting maybe a few years ago, but now they just walk in and take what they want and then they're out. Which could be part of the reason everything in the city just costs more and more and more.
Inflation is off the roof. I'm feeling it most when it comes to rent, but I do feel a little bit when it comes to grocery shopping.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, groceries and electricity are up 25% since January.
These are just not really encouraging stories to hear. It's so tough for people to make ends meet in this city. But critics say inflation and everything from what you wear to what you eat isn't the whole story here. And that's because even though crime is a big problem in New York, where stores like this are completely locked down, it's that attitudes about theft have changed. Look at this, 30% of Gen Z shoppers prefer self-checkout just so they can shoplift. In a perfect world, self-checkout would benefit people who were in a rush and wanted to get out quickly. But in New York, you've got the added problem of laws that actually aid shoplifters. For example, back in 2020, the city banned single-use plastic bags, which were a great way for a store to see if somebody was filling up their own bag with stuff that didn't belong to them. Now, yes, the goal of banning plastic.
If you lose God, country, and family, this is what happens. When you have people that don't really have a strong affinity to God, they'll go, well, if mankind creates rules that I can get away with and take from other people, then I'll just do it. And that's what's happening in New York. You have a society having that mentality. But when someone has more of an affinity towards religion, more affinity towards God, they would say, I can't do this because God's watching. I can't do this because it hurts my neighbor. I can't do this because it hurts my community. But you have many people that don't care. You have many people that have lost God, country, and family. This is if the bedrock of civilization is the family unit. But if you don't have a family unit, then you can, it's a slippery slope. You can, the government doesn't really matter because you don't have progeny, and and you don't really care about the country. And if you don't care about the country, it's a slippery slope to the point where you don't even care about religion or God or morality. So when you have a group of people that are trying to demonize family, it will lead to the loss of God and country and lawlessness. People are going to get judged for what's going on.
For most businesses does decrease plastic waste in the environment, but it means people are either paying more money for a bag like this, or it means that criminals have another tool in their war on the rest of us. And that's why many discount stores that helped New Yorkers for so long are in trouble. Even 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven's supposed to be a place that has deals. Oh, look, the apple fritters are even locked up. The drinks are all in locking cabinets as well. And the Ben & Jerry's ice cream pints are $9.99. That is absolutely crazy. And that's why even if a national chain like Dollar Tree manages to keep its New York City stores open by raising their prices, the stores are going to disappear. Anyways, New York isn't going to be able to have affordable things for people to buy because critics say theft, inflation, and the other costs associated.
It's not just inflation. When you're dealing with corporate, there's two types. There's two categories I want to bring up here. They're really important. The private company and the public company. The private company basically means it's a family-owned business, or it's not part of the stock exchange. Bloomberg is a private company, all right. But if you deal with Ben & Jerry's, it used to be a private company that was sold to a public company. So if you're a public company traded, then there is this never-ending need for appreciation of the stock. Well, the only way that happens is if you convince investors that your revenues are increasing, your expenses are decreasing, you're getting more customers, whatever, however that is played out. All right. And you're convincing Wall Street analysts that instead of $30 a share, that you're selling at $50 a share. And then every quarter that you're going to, you have to convince Wall Street analysts to keep a buy for that stock, for your company. Well, once you saturate your customer base with the products that you offer, you no longer really can have strong growth. And therefore, it will start to be an S-curve and plateau because you've saturated your market. And then the analysts will say sell or hold on your stock. If you're a growth stock, most likely you don't have a dividend. All right. I'm doing this in generic terms, but and then once you're at the plateau, then you start doing a dividend. But your investors may say, well, this is not a growth stock anymore, and I'm going to get out. So the share price goes down. And so you have the marketing team saying, oh, why don't we just raise the prices? Then eventually start having demand destruction. Then the marketing team goes, why don't we make the product smaller and at the same price so we have more profitability per unit? And that lasts for a little while, and that's what's playing out right now with what Cash Jordan's talking about. This never-ending need for additional profit on a company that has already saturated the market is part of the problem. All right?
Just being here are so high that it's an unsustainable ship these discount stores are on. What do you think about that? Is that true? Let me know. I appreciate you watching as always. I'll see you in the next video.
All right. So basically, New York is going straight to hell. And Cash Jordan still plays hip hop that I don't like. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the products that I offer that will help to boost up your immune system and to help to boost up your overall health and slow down the aging process. If you follow my protocol, you are going to slow down the ailments that you will have later down the road in most cases. All right. But it's not just supplementation. It's proper diet, proper exercise, proper sleep, challenging your brain, staying away from too much negativity. You have to be a realist. Don't be, living in a bubble thinking that everything is copacetic. But the other side of the spectrum is that everyone thinks everything's dystopia. That's not true either. We're not living in utopia. We're not living in dystopia yet. All right. But what we do have problems, and you need to be an engaged citizen. Right. But that also means don't be overly stressed. Take time out and detox from the stressful environment of society. Right. That will help to boost up your immune system. That will help to slow down the aging process. Right. So thank you for listening. I'm going to do another video about what's going on in Israel and the red heifer. So stay tuned and watch that video. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting. And please share the links to help grow the channel. I'm heavily censored on YouTube for obvious reasons, as I was covering certain things about the crisis in 2020. And I need your help to get over that censorship on YouTube. So please subscribe to all my channels and ask your social media to follow my work. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.